cases, and we're told that President Mahama has directed the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Dr. Dominic Ayine, to initiate investigations immediately into the corruption cases uncovered by Operation Recover or Loot Committee with a view of prosecuting those found liable. So he would have to investigate further. He would have to conduct other investigations, and then once he deems it necessary to prosecute, why not? He has to do that.
It's the expectations raised about these things that's okay. So I keep hearing the expression, and that's the expression they use: may retrieve. But when you put out some billions of dollars, the expectation is that a bit of that, if it's reasonable, let's say half or somewhere around that, we should not create unreasonable expectation around the amount of money we can retrieve in this process. You have exactly 4 years. For example, you are thinking of the alternative of seeking to renegotiate land sales that have already been carried out. It will put hurdles in your way. You sometimes will have to rely on the judiciary to do some of the things that are required in here. Other forms of negotiations, I don't know the current staff strength of the AG's office, but I think, like Bryce Simmons wrote, maybe a 12.5% recovery rate is reasonable. In fact, he even thinks that it's a very high estimation of it.
Yeah.
We should not create unreasonable expectation. Then if you're unable to deliver, then it becomes storytelling, unanswered stories. Then we will be blaming other institutions or whichever end for it. I'm sure most Ghanaians believe the quest to make people account for their stewardship is absolutely necessary. In fact, if you take up government's position, if you take up government lands, and Winston, who is the Attorney General, finds the view that, or is of the view that you have done something that is erroneous, he's entitled to command investigation. And again, it is these same institutions of state that are going to do the investigations. For example, the police that for the last so many years is trying to find Ahmed Swale's killer is going to debate or put some dedicate part of their time to do this same work. I don't know whether we have revamped IOCO. This same IOCO that took very wonderful view on people's tax cuts is the same groupings that are going to rely on to do some of these investigations. So I am not one of those who is jumping at, hey, we are going to recover all of these. I'll be excited if they even do up to the almost 12 or so percent that is required. At least they should send a signal that if you go into governance, the expectation is that you one day account for your stewardship, and that requires that we will do it consistently.
And you see, you make a very important point. Many of these cases would have to go to court. If the courts feel that the state has a case, fine. But, I mean, we've seen National Cathedral. You had Samuel Okucheja Blackwell make the point that, the National Cathedral is part. We've also seen conversations about, some billions of Ghana cedis that was printed by the Bank of Ghana. Now, how you get that is another issue. And so, I get your point. And it's part of the things we've done in this part of the world. In Ghana,
manage expectations.
we always, Ghana, our leaders, I'm not part of it, our leaders and persons we put in positions, always throw out figures. At the end of the day, in the end of the conversation, they are the ones who are always found trying to, eat back their words. Because if you throw out figures and say, we're going to, if what we have seen is anything to go by, we may recover some 21 billion Ghana cedis out of 36 cases. Now, that's actually instructive. 36 cases.
Not even the entire
cases.
800 or so you
36
said.
cases.
Or the 1,400 or something that you mentioned earlier.
So, for instance, we know that when it comes to the National Cathedral, it should have gone to the Public Procurement Authority and other things which were not done, and that in itself would question the expenditure. So in there, a few things could be done, but that would be something that will go to court eventually if the person says, well, I did nothing wrong, I just signed a contract. Let's go to court and let the court decide. We know in certain instances also, some of the monies that you're talking about, say, oh, this was not approved by the Public Procurement Authority. They went back for ratification of their actions. Under those circumstances, how do you recover it? But we'll come and talk about this later.
Just a minute, though. What is loot? What is loot? Because if you are going to recover it, I'm sure you are going to have to first prove in court that it was wrongly or illegally acquired.
Yes, but
Right.
mostly the terms differ. The investigation will come to place each of these properly within the laws. So
Yes.
it might be called loot on one end. It might be called willfully causing financial loss on the other end. There are different terms
Either
that
way,
laws
there
would actually
must
put.
be an illegality in order for you to have the right to recover it. Anna.
Generally.
Yes, I mean, if the person acquired it legally, how will you recover it? By what law? Will you make the person return something they acquired legally?
Okay. Well, let me just say this. In some of the instances, what we will get will be causing financial loss. And I say anybody who saw a law and decided to do something contrary to the law, so you know the expenditure must go through giftness, and you did not do that, the appropriate sanctions
Yes.
be given to you. Still on the front page of the Daily Graphic, implement child online protection policy. Activists demand ahead of Internet Safety Day. Okada legalization process begins. All set for Council of State elections today. Some 522 persons are expected to vote in the Council of State elections. The Ghanaian Times for this morning says FDA leads 7 African regulators to foster trust, accelerate access to medicines, act on oral report. President directs AG, and government IMF comments meeting on policy direction. Beg your pardon. 2025 budget. So we're told that the budget will be ready in March. We just don't have the specific date yet. I'm sure Parliament would give the Finance Ministry a date, and the Finance Ministry will be in touch with Parliament. Sign anti-LGBTQI plus bill into law. National Ramadan Conference urges government. Also, let me get to the Business and Financial Times for today. Budget others take center stage as government IMF meets. ACDT urges full integration of Ghana card into banking operations. And Kobe Mensah calls for cultural asset valuation. And he is the CEO of the GTDC.
Professor Kobe Mensah.
Yes.
Yes, Professor Kobe Mensah.
Ghana Tourism Development Company. This is a very interesting institution that we haven't heard of much in the past. But their mandate includes things like raising money to fund our tourism industry.
Who was in charge of it?
I don't know, because I mean it wasn't a very prominent institution in the past. Although I mean I had a look at their mandate and I found it interesting
Okay.
because it things that if they do well, our tourism sector really should benefit.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Raymond, KJTR market owes ECG 1.6 million is also on the front page of the Business and Financial Times.
But this matter, they've gone back and forth on it.
Yes.
Yes. They raised concerns about, I mean, I don't know how they're going to fix it. And people have challenged the amount of money they claim they owe. And there's been back and forth on that. Hopefully there will be an agreement on how to fix it, because they're supposed to pay anyway, but they should pay the right bill, not any one that pops up. And it's important that they pay the right bill. I'm hoping that we not go disconnect before we go and do the negotiation, because we all know that there's been a lot of back and forth on it anyway. But maybe I can go to the Economic
Yes, you
Times.
can go to the Economic Times.
Ghana's cocoa sector at risk of falling further. That's by Adnan Adams Mohammed. And it says, unfavorable climatic conditions, 1, smuggling, and diseases, that's the swollen shoot virus and the black pod, for instance, are predicted to affect Ghana's cocoa output. This is what Deloitte is saying. And as alarmed in the January 2025 Global Economic Outlook, cocoa is increasingly losing its position as the backbone of our economy. I'm just asking myself, what used to be the September, October, November support for the Ghanaian currency is becoming a problematic source. I'm hoping that something fast and quick can be done about it. Because really, now, I mean, I don't know if they still consider us number 2 in the world or after Cote d'Ivoire. But
we're
it
still-
looks
I
like,
think we're still number 2.
yes, it looks like we are really, I'm hoping that, what's the name of the gentleman?
Randy Abbey.
Randy Abbey.
Yes, will revamp the sector.
Look, I have a challenge with how we manage cocoa in this country. Why? Why must all cocoa be given to government to go and sell and determine our price? Why? So if I think that it makes no sense for me to get into cocoa, if I think that if I go into the production of cocoa, I may not get funds, I may not get the needed revenue, I would not go into it. But if those who felt like trading on their own independently were given the chance to do so, a lot of people will get into cocoa production. This whole system, yes, I know that we need the foreign exchange, but we can actually make sure that the foreign exchange still comes into the country, even though we are failed when it comes to the mineral sector. When it comes to gold, we are failed in ensuring that we get a lot of foreign
The
exchange.
real
I
benefits,
think at the core of
the
it
real-
is that people should get what they deserve
Yes.
for putting in a lot of effort, a lot of productivity, and a lot of work into it.
A lot of the problems, a lot of the problems with our cocoa sector is the procurement. Because the government says, oh, we're giving you fertilizer, we're giving you other things. And all of these, the problem there, the challenge there, is the procurement practices. So at the end of it, instead of the farmers getting more, because we're buying fertilizer, some of which are inflated, they get little.
Well, I mean, the chokehold that government seems to have over the cocoa sector, is it not mainly motivated by their ability to borrow against it? Yeah, that's really what their interest is. Which is why you don't see as much effort going into developing and growing the sector and giving the farmers and the producers of the thing what they are due. Because the thing now is just a mechanism for them to go to big banks and borrow money.
Or developing other non-traditional crops so that you
Yes.
revamp others.
So we even escaped this whole I don't
Cocoa
know
dependency.
What it is, Stockholm syndrome that we have with cocoa.
All right.
The graphic business for this morning says Absa Bank Ghana empowering growth and success in 2025 till T-bill rate eases. Investor appetite still strong. There was oversubscription, but government didn't take the oversubscribed amount. It rejected it the last time. So in the past, would have accepted everything.
Okay.
But this time around, government said no. This is how much we want. So once we hit that, we're not going to take the others that you've brought in. So they rejected those ones.
Do you see IMF's hand in that?
What I actually see is government trying to be careful, because on days that you are not able to raise enough, it's a problem.
Yeah.
The new crusading guide says don't cancel nursing and teacher training allowances. And
Oh,
NPP
I
to Mahama.
disagree. MPP to Mahama.
My position is clear, and I am not going to change my position. I have always been against the payment of nursing and teacher trainee allowances. So anybody that says I'm going to cancel that, it makes a lot of sense to me. I do not understand how you give people money while in school, and then when they finish school, there's no financial clearance for them to start work because we don't have money. Okay? Yes, I mean, it doesn't make sense. But it will be important also to understand what has changed from the NDC's position of we will continue paying if it decides not to pay. But I still insist that government has no business paying teachers and nurses
See,
allowances.
one of the things that I'll be very happy to hear this government go back on its word on is payment of these allowances. I will support Haruna Dusu 100% if his view is that we are no longer going to pay. To me, it is not even fair and just to the other people in the same education sector. Today, we do not have a problem with the recruitment and the training of teachers. In fact, we have an abundance of same. As for nurses there, some of them are still sitting home waiting to be deployed.
Exactly.
The amount of money that you use to actually go and give to people in school to train and stay in the school Please redeploy that to doing some form for the ones who are already gone to school and clear the backlog. Then we can think about those who are also in the system. This does not mean that if there are scholarship systems for people who cannot pay, that's why we have scholarship secretariat giving local scholarships to Ghanaians. They are tertiary education students. They should also go and apply, and they will be considered fairly anyway.